Now, this video is not going to be one of my videos where we go over a specific stock or an ETF and explain why or why not it could potentially be a good buying opportunity, etc. But instead, this video is going to be more of a strategy-based video where I share some of the most important and useful wisdom as a seven-figure dividend growth investor who currently earns north of $6,000 in dividends every single month without doing a single thing. Now we're going to talk about different things like why surpassing the initial milestone of $10,000 invested in dividend stocks and ETFs is so important and why creating a strategy early on and tracking milestones when it comes to dividend growth investing is going to be crucial for your long-term success. Now, if you consider yourself a long-term dividend growth investor who seeks to build a portfolio that pays you massive dividends on a monthly and quarterly basis, drop a like down below, stick around, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So like I mentioned in the intro, as of right now, I'm about 7 years into my dividend growth investing journey as a 31-year-old who currently has over 7 figures invested. Now this right here is more or less every single position throughout my multiple different dividend stock portfolios. And all in all, I think I have about 37 different core positions, buying more of this and that on a consistent basis. And as the portfolio sits currently, I'm earning roughly around $6,000 on a monthly basis. Now, some months are going to be a little bit more and less, but roughly speaking, around $72,000 per year in dividends. Now, even though as of right now you see this large, at least relatively speaking, portfolio that I've been able to build for myself, but it wasn't always the case, you see as we're scrolling through right here, this is my original Robinhood portfolio that I started back in, say, 2017, 2018. And as you can see right here, this was in 2020 when the entire stock market was basically crashing, and I was taking almost every single dollar out of my savings account and buying a ton of shares of things like Realty Income and other stocks and ETFs across the market. Now I can scroll and scroll for days here, but basically what I'm trying to show you is that a large portfolio, of course, is not built overnight, but long-term consistency is what's important. And if you just keep buying high-quality assets that pay you dividends, reinvest those dividends into more high-quality assets, any investor out there can build a portfolio that earns north of $6,000 per month in dividends. Now, to dig a little bit deeper into my early days of dividend growth investing, I was lucky enough to pretty much from the start have a strategy in mind that I luckily haven't deviated too far from since the start, and that strategy was to build out a long-term portfolio of different high-quality assets that hopefully go up in price over time, but regardless, pay me a dividend. Now, I'm not saying that dividend investing is necessarily better than that of like growth investing. There's obviously pros and cons to both of them, but at least for me specifically, I absolutely love from the start the fact that I could buy a share of Verizon, for example, or a share of Apple, for example, or a share of QYLD or Realty Income. And every single share that I purchased on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, I could then forecast a rough amount of dividend income that I was now going to be able to earn basically in my sleep. Now, with some of you out there watching this video, I'm sure you are a lot like me where you of course want to build out a portfolio that's going to go up in value over time, but dividends are very, very important to you. Cash flow is very important to you. You want to build a portfolio that's going to cover some or all of your bills in the future. And if that does happen to be the case for you, I need to give you one major piece of advice. Now, I've talked about this advice on other videos, but it's very, very important. And that piece of advice is to track your dividend income on a daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. Now, you of course could build out your own dividend tracker. It could be very simple using something like Microsoft Excel or even Google Sheets, or you could of course grab this exact same dividend tracker down below my description, or honestly you could even just buy a notebook and track all the stocks and ETFs that you buy on a consistent basis and how much dividend income they pay on a monthly or quarterly basis. Now, I found this very, very important even early on in my dividend investing journey, and for me specifically, I remember buying a few shares of Realty Income very early on. I think at the time Realty Income was probably paying around 23 or 24 cents more or less on a monthly basis, and I found it so motivating. The fact that every single time I went into one of my brokerages and I purchased a share of ticker symbol Realty Income, I now was 24 cents on a monthly basis richer. And the reason on why tracking the dividend income was so important to me is because now I could set goals for myself on a weekly or monthly basis. Things like I want to try to get to a point to where I can purchase 4 shares of Realty Income on a weekly basis, and then over time get to a point to where I can purchase 10 shares of Realty Income on a weekly basis. Because at that point, I knew that on a monthly basis, I was going to be able to raise my dividend income that substantially. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is why I think it's mentally, psychologically so important to get your dividend portfolio above the $10,000 value line. Now, the reason being is if you, let's say, have a $10,000 portfolio that's yielding around 4% on a yearly basis, let's say, which is somewhere towards the average of what a lot of dividend investors have. Now, in that case, this $10,000 dividend portfolio would earn around $400 per year in dividends. Now, if you were to divide that by 12, that means that on a consistent monthly basis, this dividend portfolio would earn the investor around $33 and some change on a monthly basis. Now, the reason I find that $10,000 milestone so important, and of course there's different milestones when it comes to dividend investing and investing in general, there's going to be tons of milestones that are going to be very important to reach, and I definitely remember reaching a lot of them specifically myself. But the reason on why I think that $10,000 milestone is going to be so important, especially if you're a dividend investor that, say, has a portfolio that on average yields around 3%, 4%, 5%, is because now at that point, this investor is now going to be earning around $28 a month, $33 a month, or say even north of $40 per month. Now, the reason I remember this milestone being so important for me specifically is because if you look throughout my portfolio, for example, we have things like BDJ, that's $7.73. We have Devo, that's $37.26. We have tons of different names of stocks and ETFs throughout this portfolio that if and when an investor gets to that milestone of $10,000 and earns, let's say, around $35 or $40 on a monthly basis, that investor now will be able to basically more or less purchase an entire share of a different stock or ETF throughout their portfolio, which is going to be an amazing feeling knowing that you're buying a high quality asset, not with your earned income, not with money that you had earned from your job, not with money from a deposit, but from purely cash balance that was brought into your portfolio from just plain dividends. Now, like I sort of mentioned, this is just one milestone. Of course, when your portfolio hits 20,000 or 30,000, you're going to get to the point to where you can ask yourself, could I maybe even afford to pay for an entire bill throughout my life with my dividend income alone? Which for me specifically, I remember back in the early days, I was to the point to where I could cover my entire cell phone bill if I would, of course, choose to do so with just dividend income. And I found that very, very freeing. But regardless, once the portfolio is built up to a point to say $10,000 plus, the portfolio will at that point be able to at least more or less buy another share of an ETF or stock throughout the portfolio, which I promise you is going to feel super, super cool to be able to do. So even if you're currently watching this video and you are a brand new dividend investor with just a few shares of a dividend paying stock or ETF, I promise you that if you consistently track your dividend income over time and add up those pennies, even though I promise you it's going to feel sort of stupid at the beginning of it. And I'm not going to lie to you, during my early days of dividend investing, I had a lot of friends and even family members say, why in the world are you buying a share of, for example, realty income for $50, $60, or $70 back at the time just to earn 23 cents per month in dividends? It doesn't make sense to those that are not dividend investors. But I promise you, as you get 2 shares of realty income, as you get 10 shares, 100 shares, and now where I'm sitting currently 7 years in at 2,826 shares of realty income, now I'm currently earning around $700 on a monthly basis from just those once upon a time tiny little dividends. It's going to make sense long term. It doesn't happen overnight, but I promise you, if you track your dividend income, track all those pennies at the start, you're going to reach different milestones to where at one point you're going to earn altogether maybe $1 on average on a monthly basis from all your dividend income, then $10, then $30, and at that point, like I said, like we talked about, you can then buy an entire share of a different stock or ETF with just your dividend income. Then from there, you're going to get to a point to where you could even cover a cell phone bill. Then from there, maybe you can get to a point to where you can cover your car insurance, or maybe even an entire car payment. And then to the point over time, get to a point to like I am right now where your dividend income surpasses all of your bills and more. But regardless, building out a strategy of buying high quality assets that pay dividend income, reinvesting those dividends into more high quality assets, tracking your progress along the way, and then just consistently do that for a long time. All of that and more is exactly what I've done to get to the point that I have right now. And of course, I'm not saying that I have the biggest portfolio out there, but I'm definitely pretty proud of what I've been able to build, at least so far. But when it comes to crossing over a major milestone for dividend investing, I want to hear from you guys down below. In regards to dividend investing, what's one milestone that you recently surpassed or one milestone that you're working to get to as of right now? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.